Hey there. So, before we start, this is not your normal video from me. Recently, my cat died. She's lived with me for 11 years. And recently she died from a sickness from poisoning. So this all started on New Year's, somewhere around Christmas. I was searching for a job. We were letting her outside so she could have fun in the meantime. Then we would let her in. And this was normal. She always asked to go outside. So eventually my brother was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let her outside, close the door, and then at some time I would let her back in. And I told him that was stupid, that he shouldn't do that. So yeah, after a while he was like, okay, I'll leave some water, some food, because I told him the cat was looking dehydrated. She wasn't drinking, and yeah, he left some water outside. She wouldn't drink the water that was outside. So then I told him, well, why don't you just let her in? So he let her inside so she could drink. She drank a lot, then wanted to go straight back outside. I noticed she was very weak. So then I thought, well, maybe she's hungry. So I brought her right in front of her food bowl, and she wouldn't eat. And my brother was like, oh, she'll get hungry eventually and she'll eat. And I thought the same, like, oh, he must be right. It might just be that she's just not hungry right now. She must have eaten beforehand before going outside. So then, after one day, I would look at her food bowl. She didn't eat anything. I put her in front of her food bowl. She munches on a few of them, drank a lot of water, then walked outside. Alright, the next day, I check. She hasn't eaten anything in her food bowl. I can't find her. Where is she? She's, outside. I go grab her, put her in front of her food bowl, and and when I go to grab her hind legs aren't moving. She can't move her back legs. So I bring her inside, and she can't seem to control her hind legs. I put her in front of the water bowl, and she suffers to get to it, and then she drinks the water, stands up straight, goes back down and drinks more water. After that, I told my brother, okay, we need to take her to the vet. There's no other option. I had recently gotten money from my friend. We used that. It was literally New Year's, the end of the month. We paid the bills, and we used my brother's money to pay for the cat. We took her to the vet. I took a taxi. This first vet was amazing. He injected her with all the medicine she needed. He basically took care of her. He cleaned her eyes and her mouth a little bit, and then gave me a box of medicine and told me, give a quarter of this medicine to her every day. And so I brought her back home. She looked better. She walked a little bit, and I gave her that medicine for a week. After a week, she started getting worse again. And I kept giving her medicine because, maybe it's just she needs more medicine. So I kept giving her medicine every day, and she kept getting worse until, again, this time it was worse. She wasn't drinking, and she wasn't eating. So we waited a few more days. I called or rather, I waited half a day. I called the vet the next day because it was nighttime by then, so I couldn't call in. The next day in the morning, beforehand, I had stayed up all night because I wanted to make sure she would stay alive. I would nudge her every single time. I would pet her. She had previously soiled herself because she couldn't get to the litter box. So she smelled like horrible. And we took her to the second vet. Prior to this, I was talking with my friend Tony. We played a few games, we chatted. Before we even started playing, he told me, "Hey, here you go, man. I'll send you $40 or $44." He sent me that to my PayPal. PayPal took their cut. I then had to transfer it to my bank. PayPal took their cut again for another transfer. So I ended up with $37. I took her to this second vet. Sleep deprived. I took a taxi there, so even more money just used on a taxi. I sat down. They told me to wait in that chair. I waited, and I slowly fainted and fell asleep. Then the vet, at some point, I don't know how much time I wait, or how much time passed. She came up to me, woke me up. She didn't even touch me. She just kept screaming at me, and then I woke up, startled. And I told him, my cat, she's sick. And she asked me, like, what was wrong with her? And I just said she hasn't eaten, she hasn't drank, she hasn't done any of these things. So then I bring her in on the table, I put her down. I'm still groggy, dizzy. I don't know. I know what's happening, but I'm just extremely dizzy. I'm just not well. She tells me, "Do you need a cup of water?" I say yes. And she starts like cleaning my cat's eyes. And she just tells me she's really weak. She's dehydrated, gives her liquid IV, and then walks away. I stay there looking at her, making sure she doesn't get up. She kept trying to get up and walk away. She comes back. She removes it, puts it back, but on the bottom side of her body, so on the side, and then just starts writing down the stuff. After a while, she removes the liquid IV, helps me put her back in the bag, and tells me, okay, you're gonna need these 4 medications and to take her to the vet clinic. And then I'm like, okay. So then she tells me come to the desk, and I'm like, okay, no medicine or anything. I can't pay for this. I go to the front desk. I say, okay, I'm gonna pay you. I couldn't think straight. I was sleep deprived. I didn't know what to do. So I go to pay her, and I don't have enough. So I tell her, listen, I don't have enough money. This is all the money I have in my account. So I send her that money, and I tell her, you know what? I'll pay what's left over. And so I took a bank loan, And she gladly put the QR code in front of me. I paid it with the bank loan. And then she rushed me out. I asked her a few questions like, hey, well, where is this clinic? Like, she told me, oh, it's in the back of the paper. You just check there. It has the phone number. Just call them. They'll tell you where it is. And she rushed me out. She said she needed to go. She closed the door behind me. And after that, I really didn't care. I just felt like I got horrible treatment. And I couldn't take a taxi back because my account was on zero. So I took the bus. I took the bus back home after waiting on the bus stop. After getting back home, walking all the way from the bus stop to my house, I leave her down on the bag, and I respond to my boss, my new boss that I got here on New Year's. I recently got a really good editing gig on New Year's. Everything was looking good until my cat got sick. And then I talk with my brother. He doesn't have money because he also hasn't had a job recently and he hasn't been able to get money. I also haven't had money at all up to now. I still don't have money. We talk with each other. I start searching for local animal, or rather no, I start looking for local vets that are free. I start talking to acquaintances of my family. One of them tells me there is a free vet clinic. I search up that vet clinic. There's no information on it, no location, no phone number, no dates, when it's open, nothing. I find something. It's a phone number. I add it, and they say that I can add it to WhatsApp. They send me through an automated bot, and none of the options are for what my cat's having. I sent them an email, and no response for about a day. So then I tell my brother, well, there's nothing I can do. I have to wait for the free vet clinic to respond to me. And yeah. The next day, the free vet clinic responds to me, and apparently their only location is like 80 kilometers away. And I'm like, well then, that was useless. And so then I tell my acquaintance, yeah, that the vet clinic that you were talking about, it's no longer there. And the one that was in our city was only for castration and for, for the rabies vaccine. And so she tells me, oh, well, that sucks. So then I search up, what can I do to get free attention for my pet? I find that I can take her to an animal shelter. There are no local animal shelters. The only shelter that's available is literally in the capital city, which is quite far away. It's like 2 hours away to drive to it. And so I try to call them, and yeah, most of them didn't respond. Their phone number would not work. I ran out of credit on my phone. I went to my neighbors, asked my neighbors if they knew a local one. They said no. And so I told them, okay, I'll get the phone number. Can you call them? We called one of them. They were a vet clinic, sadly not a animal shelter. And they told me, I don't have enough credit to call that much. So we kept calling, and she ran out of credit as well. So Yeah, no animal shelters locally, because a lot of them wouldn't respond. Then she told me you can talk to our neighbor. I go knock on my neighbor's door. She is an animal lover, so yeah, and well, she wasn't home. So I came back home defeated, and I talked to my brother, and we were like, well, what we can do in the meantime until the end of the week when we can get paid, because my brother gets paid at the end of the week. I have to finish this editing job and get paid at the end of the week. And then we can pay for her medicine and for the vet clinic at the end of the week. So we decide to keep doing what we were doing up to now, because the day prior to all this, I was feeding her manually. I was giving her water with a syringe manually in her mouth. She would drink the water and she would eat the food. And then, like, recently, I did the same thing. Every day, I would wake up, respond to my boss, the video editing one. I would do a bit of video editing, and then we talked for a bit, and then I brought her outside so she could relax. And because the water would just fall out of her mouth, so I would have to spew it, and then she would swallow it. I gave her the water. I made her drink a lot of water because I didn't want her to be dehydrated. I gave her food, and she wouldn't swallow the food. I had to force her to swallow the food, so she swallowed the food. She was breathing just fine, so I wasn't suffocating her. I made sure she would swallow the food, because after every food bit, which was just minced meat, it was just meat that was already just pre-liquefied, I then spewed some water in her mouth so she could swallow it. She was breathing just fine. She did not drown. I made sure of it. And then I brought her, after relaxing with her outside for a bit, petting her, I brought her back inside. I left her on the floor a little bit so she could just rest. I went to my chair to continue editing. I felt far too tired, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna rest on this, go to bed, and then when I wake up, I'm gonna check on her, give her some more water, and then go to my chair and keep working. So I go to sleep. I wake up, I get a message on Discord, I check the message, and it's my friend Tony. He sent me an image. It was pretty funny. I sent him a response. I get up, I walk to the kitchen, and I see her lying down in her new typical place, because she's never lied down there. And I notice she's not breathing. I touch her to see if she moves. She doesn't move. I lift her head, because that's what I typically do. I just lift her head, and she's rigid. I touch her body, and it's cold. And that's what I noticed. She's dead. And I go and tell my brother. He goes to look at her. And yeah, we did all we could. We didn't have money. We didn't have anything. I did all I could. I fed her, I gave her water, and I was planning to do this all week. But sadly, whatever was poisoning her got her first. And yeah, that was it. She's still in my kitchen. She's still lying there. I'm going to miss her. So, it's my first time using TikTok. Let me turn on the lights. And this is my cat. So, update on the cat situation. Look at the camera. You are so cute. Sniff my finger. Let's try it again. Ahí está. You're done? You ready? Yeah, yeah. Oh, uy, pero mira qué loca. Lila. Ya está. Ahí quedó. Ahí quedó nomás. Ya está. Quedó quietita. A ver, espera. Tenés que moverlo más, viste. Ay, pero mira qué loca que se pone. Uy, pero miró. Tenés que tironearle más, viste. Está gorda. Uy, no suelta. Está enojada. Mirá esa gata. Cómo mueve la cola. Dale. Peluche. Está quieta, está quieta. Ahí que mueve la manita. Ay. No, no, ella no. Ya está, ya pasó. A ver. Suelta. Ahí está. Si le empezamos a molestar así, se pone loca. Pero mira. Ya, pero mira eso. Ahí. A ver, desenredala ahí. Ahí está. Ahí le seguimos la pelea. Está al revés ahora. Ay, pero mira esa gorda. Le gusta cómo juego yo. Con el hilo, la boluda. ¿Ya está gorda? Ay. Estamos acá con la peluda, esta vez si quiere jugar, recién estaba así con las manitos y de todo. Ahora ya se tranquilizó un poco, creo. Nada, que se tranquilizó, te lo quita. El pelude. Bien. Dice el hambre. Un auto la destruyó. El auto, sí. Se le atracó.
missed the good part where she was doing all kinds of stunts.
Nah, sí, igual está así la gorda. Mira, pero la cola. Mole más fuerte.
Le sacaban la manita.
Y tiroñale a la gorda.
Alright, yeah, I need to share this one.
So I'm just gonna keep playing League, I guess. With like fucking mouth.
Piensa que es un gato real. El gato que está ahí, en la tele, del juego que vamos a jugar. Mirá. Es gordita. No mira el gato, che. Pero mira, ay, acércate, gorda, dale. No te va a morder el otro gato. Pero mirala. Se levantó el otro gato y está mirando y ella también lo mira. Pero qué gordita, pero mira cómo que está muy interesada. Ay, y se acerca. Ay, chiquita. And before I end the video, cat, cat, cat. Oh my god, her eyes are she's a demon. Oh, she never meows like that for the camera. That's actually really cute. All right, well, there we go. You get a little cat thing for the ending. Meow. Well, anyways, bye bye.